Breaking news, man. Boogie Fland could be back for the NCAA tournament. Adou Thiero is also on the fence and could be back. Maybe not for this first game against Kansas. In the round of 64 or 68, I can't keep up. But those two dudes could be coming back, and Boogie could definitely be coming back, barring any setbacks. I'm sure you've already heard that at this point. But with this show, man, we try to look at things from a different perspective. We try to ask the questions that nobody is asking and think about things when it comes to this hoop shit. In a different way, man. Especially about my favorite two teams, obviously the Los Angeles Lakers and Arkansas Razorbacks, but hoops in general, from every level. But especially gonna start covering some Arkansas sports here, really heavy in the near future. And I'm excited about being able to bring y'all all the top talent coming out of Arkansas from a high school level on up, man. So I'm excited about that. But the question here today is, how does Thiero and Boogie Flynn coming back to the Hogs potentially help the Hogs? But how does it also potentially hurt the Hogs? Because if I'm being quite honest with you, even though you haven't had your two best players, I've said this before, I feel like we've played pretty well without them. Now, is that me saying we don't need those two dudes? Of course not. The more health we have, the better. The deeper we are, the better. The more talent we have, the better. But one thing I feel like Coach Cal did struggle with is how to put all those pieces together, if that makes sense. How to find a flow with all of these individuals and their individual talents and what they bring to the table in a way that makes sense and gels together, if that makes sense. And so what I want to do is I want to start with Boogie Fland, and I want to talk about how does he help Arkansas, how he could potentially hurt Arkansas, and then in particular, if Thiero was to come back, how he would impact not so much the overall team, but how we impact two in particular players that I feel like are very important to our team, and that's going to be Trevor Brazil, and that's going to be Jonas Adou. Or yeah, I feel like that's going to be super important, right? So, how does Boogie Fland help Arkansas? I think the number one thing he's going to help with, obviously, is that he's another high-level shot creator, right? Boogie Fland is a dude that can go get his shot whenever he wants to. Now, does he sometimes take tough shots or questionable shots? Yeah, he does, right? I think that's part of being a freshman, and sometimes forcing the issue. But one thing you know is that with the ball in his hands, it's not too many people that can guard him in the country. And so that does like give you a certain type of like of calmness and peace, because when you're in a tough spot and you need a tough bucket, you can trust on him to go get you one. He can go get a bucket whenever he wants, and we don't have a lot of dudes on our team that can do that, right? I think Thiero can do that. I think Boogie could do that, right? Ironically, your two favorite dudes on the bench. I think DJ can go get him a bucket when he wants to. I think Brazil can go get a bucket when he wants to. Or Janelle Davis can get a bucket when he wants to. Again, the problem has always been, how do you get all five of these dudes to have that same confidence, same mindset, same aggressiveness, and fluidity and efficiency in the same game? Hard to do, but how do you do it, right? Which is kind of why I'm asking these questions anyway. Another thing that he brings really well to this Arkansas team is he's going to take pressure off DJ Wagner. DJ Wagner doesn't have to be the primary ball handler the entire game. He can he can get him a rest actually and come out the game a little bit more. He can play off the ball and become more of a scoring threat. He can, he doesn't have to initiate the offense every single time and try to hunt for his shot. He can do a little bit off the ball, but never mind. I'm not going to jump to the conclusions because I feel like there's also going to be a double-edged sword, but I'm going to come back to that. But I think he's going to bring some pressure off DJ Wagner. Obviously, it's going to improve our backcourt depth, right? It's going to give us a chance to have four primary ball handlers now, because you got Wagner. I think he let Janelle Davis handle the ball from time to time, and then he let Billy Richmond handle the ball quite a bit, right? Billy Richmond can now become a fourth option, right? Because at times Billy Richmond still does show those moments of being young, even though he's a stud. He does show moments of being young where he can be kind of turnover prone, right? Especially in big moments. And so I think, again, it just gives you another calmness and peace to a dude that's going to have the ball in his hand a whole lot, right? But the question also becomes, how does Cal use him in this situation? I don't think you can overexert Boogie Fland, right? I don't think you can run him into the ground, especially with such a sensitive injury with your hand and your finger and all of that type of stuff, right? You don't want to run him into the ground in the first place. But just knowing you have him, it just brings you a different type of confidence to your team and to your mindset, right? It's going to allow Arkansas to play faster right? We can get out in transition and run even more, especially if you get Thiero back, because now you get another lob threat, another dude that plays above the rim, another dude that plays aggressively, and just makes us play way faster, man. It makes teams have to really get back and play on their heels, and allows us to just get to that rim, right? And get free throws and get fouled, which is something that Arkansas has found their identity in, especially as the season has progressed. So yeah, it allows us to play faster, man. So that's something I'm excited to see too. A great defensive upside for Boogie to be a guard and be such an offensive minded guard. He actually plays pretty good defense. And I think you can feel confident that him guarding the ones and the twos of Kansas and whoever else, he can hold his own, right? You don't feel bad about that at all. And so when you talk about what does Boogie bring to the team, a quick recap of what you should know, right? Because of who he's going to be a lottery pick. But if you didn't, he's going to create his own shot. He's going to be another great primary ball handler. He's going to take some pressure off of Wagner and Jonell Davis, if I'm being honest, and Billy Richmond. He's going to give us more depth in the backcourt with the ball handling position. And then overall, he can play some pretty good damn defense. Now, the question becomes, what's the downside? Arkansas has been playing pretty well. I think winning 9 of our last 14 games or 15 games or so. Like, been playing pretty good after an 0-5 start with Boogie in the lineup. So how could it hurt us? How could Boogie be in there hurt us? I think a problem I talked about earlier when I said that Boogie wasn't playing, Arkansas was actually playing better. And the main reason I think we were playing better is because sometimes I feel like we have too many ball-dominant guards. DJ Wagner is best with the ball in his hand. Jonell Davis needs to play ISO in order to be his best. He needs the ball in his hands coming off the screen. He needs the ball in his hand with the floor spread, right? And so if you have 3 dudes that need the ball or are best when they have the ball, how do you offset that? That's what I'm worried about. How do you offset that? Right? Kind of speaking to what I just said, but more in depth, Wagner's rhythm. DJ Wagner has thrived when he is able to run the show, be the point guard, primary ball handler, playing 37 minutes, 35 minutes a game, and is able to dominate the ball. Now, he still gets people involved. I think he passes a little bit more than Boogie. He's more facilitated than Boogie is. Boogie's a scorer, but he's best when he has the ball in his hand. And so even though I did say earlier that DJ can play off the ball and it alleviates some stress on him being the primary ball handler, I feel like when you talk about how to use Boogie Fland and use DJ Wagner, you're going to have to stagger their minutes in a way to where, yeah, they're going to play together. Yeah, I don't think he's going to start them together, but yeah, they can play together. But let Boogie run that second unit, right? Let DJ run some of that second unit, vice versa, right? Let Boogie play a little bit with the first unit. Let them kind of offset each other, where instead of them having to both play 30 minutes together, they can play 23, 24, 20, I might be underselling. Maybe 30 minutes for DJ and maybe like 25, right? 23 for Boogie, especially coming off the injury, where they can stagger each other, right? And same thing, still let Wagner DJ play with Jonell Davis, right? Let's keep that same rhythm going. Let this team that's been playing together for the last month and a half, right? And then even most recently without the Thiero the last couple of weeks or so, keep playing together, but stagger those other talents in because we still need them. We just have to use them in a different way, right? But Wagner's rhythm was a really important one to me, right? I think the rotation concerns in general, right? I just kind of spoke to it when I talk about how to stagger them and how to figure that out. But now he does have his work cut out for him, because it's like, even though we only had 7 players, he had his rotations down. How do you work these dudes back in? How many minutes does Boogie play, right? How much do they play together? Do you play Jonell Davis and Wagner together? Like, these are just questions that you got to think about. It was another one on here. I'm not sure how it didn't pop up, but I got it right here for you. This is the last one that I was really, really concerned about, because what about Jonell Davis? What about Jonell Davis? Because I feel like a big part of the reason Jonell was struggling early in the season was not so much because of his game, or that he just got to Arkansas and forgot how to play like he did when he was at Florida Atlantic. I don't think that was the case. I don't think Dusty May was that much better of a coach than Calipari, to where he just brought something out of Jonell Davis that Cal couldn't. At first, I questioned it, but as I kept thinking about it, I'm like, if you look at it, when Boogie went out, now we're starting to play much better. Jonell was playing much better. Why? Because I felt like Jonell Davis had became a dude that just spotted up and stood in the corner, stood on the wing, watched a lot. Right? He's not. I don't think he's great at moving off the ball enough to be able to just sit in the corner. He needs the ball in his hand. You got to run some actions for him, or you got to train his mind, which is a hard thing to do, right? To ask somebody this late into the season to start becoming more of an off-ball threat. But you're gonna have to get him some actions where he can come off that ball, catch and get busy, or call some sets for him where Boogie got to get the fuck out the way. Like you're gonna have to do something where Jonell Davis' role isn't reduced back down to becoming a catch and shoot guy, corner guy. Like he's more than that. And you gotta find ways to use his strength despite having a first round draft pick point guard. You still got to find ways to use Jonell Davis because he's a major reason why he's one of the highest sought after pieces in the draft, in the transfer portal, is because of what we know he can do offensively. But if you just got him standing in the corner, just catching and shooting, if he not on, now you're saying he's struggling, but he needs the ball. Right. And so that's the biggest thing I've been, thinking about when it comes to how can Boogie help, but how can he also hurt us? And I think if Cal can figure these problems out, right, the ball dominant guards, right, Wagner's rhythm and let him still going, Jonell Davis and what his role is going to be, and figuring out those rotations in general, we can be okay. But there's a lot of questions to answer. But it's also a good problem to have because it's like, but I do got one of the top guards in the country back, right? One of the top ball handlers in the country back, top defenders in the country back, just the top freshman in the country back, right? Like that's a great problem to have. But it's some questions you got to answer, and I just again, our platform is all about asking the questions that other people aren't considering. Everybody's so excited to have him back, but what does that do to the chemistry of this team? How do you combat that, right? And then the other question is that I mentioned earlier: what happens with Jonas Adou and Trevor Brazile, especially if Thiero comes back? Because we were asking the same question about Brazile, were we not? We were saying, what the hell happened to Trevor Brazile? What happened? Where did he go? Right? But the real question is, did his confidence and him have an opportunity to be able to play extended minutes without having to share so much with Thiero, did that open up his game to where we saw the Brazile we saw when he was in Maui with Musselman? I believe so. I believe him only having one other player coming behind him, not having to look over his shoulder, being able to play free. He's playing the way he plays. He's stretching the floor. He's a lob threat. He's being defensive. He's been a defensive pest, right? He's using his lengths with his advantage. And you have to find a way to where, again, stagger those two and make sure that he doesn't fall back into being a dude that just stays on the perimeter. Fall back into a dude that just kind of out there in la land. Keep using him as a lob threat. When Thiero was getting downhill, instead of him always looking to attack, and get off a shot, put Brazile in that dunker spot. When Thiero attracts 2 and tracks 3, throw it up for him. Like they got to have that type of chemistry with each other in order for them to be at their best. And then when he is on that perimeter, find him and still let him have the confidence to take those shots. And hopefully he does, even if Thiero comes back. Same thing for Adou. Yeah, it's true. Adou might not be getting as many touches when you talk about just being able to intentionally post up and go to work. He might not get those touches right now if Thiero comes back. Right. And it's also going to mess up the spacing if he's trying to post up when Thiero is a driving, is a get downhill type of guy. He needs space to do that. So they probably won't play together a whole lot anyway. But Adou still has to find ways to contribute and do the things he's been doing, right? Having the double he had the other day, he still got to rebound the ball at a high level, especially offensively if he can. He has to still find ways to chip in 8 to 10 points, right? 10 rebounds. If he does that, Thiero is who he is. Brazile might not have 15 and 10, but if he can just give you 10 and a couple blocks and a couple threes and just do the things that he does at a high level, Jonell can have a great, efficient game. Boogie is patient and doesn't overdo it. Falls into the flow of these dudes have already been doing. DJ Wagner continues to be himself. And you find a way to put all this talent on the floor where they complement each other versus bumping heads with each other. And you can get multiple dudes to show up and have a good day. Not only do I think we can beat Kansas, I think we can make it to far as realistically, for sure, I know we can go to the Sweet 16. But that is what has to happen. And so, again, I'm asking the question that everybody isn't willing to ask about this team. Yeah, it's great to have those two dudes back, but how does it help us? And how could it also hurt us? And what does Cal need to do in order for us to be successful? And I think this is the question you have to ask and consider. And I hope I've done the due diligence and open up your mind as to what to expect and what to look forward to when it comes Wednesday, when we got to play this Kansas team that I think we can beat and move on. You know how much I love y'all. Let's conclude this episode of Skybox Conversations, man. The Hoop Pod. We talk about all things hoops, but especially about the Lakers and the Arkansas Razorbacks, man. I love y'all so much. Be sure to like and subscribe to this video and to the next one, man. Peace. Let's get it.